Let's pull 3 cards for your day today, Thursday, March 26th, and I'm using the Morgan Greer deck again today. Let's see what's going on. First card, 3 of Swords reversed. You know, I was wondering if yesterday's reading was going to literally bleed over into today, and I think this card confirms that it has. So the sacred witnessing I was talking about yesterday, you can feel what a heart-piercing thing that is. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. So 3 of Swords, because the swords represent cognition and narrative and analysis, things like that, it suggests that we can exacerbate what we're feeling, the intensity that we're feeling right now, if we try to do too much processing. This is a moment more for feeling through what's happening, what we're enduring in our own bodies, and working with it from the perspective of what it means to be an embodied spiritual being. So when we're in the bodies, these are the conditions. This is how we respond to events around us. And when they're painful, we feel it. And trying to resist that or trying to recontextualize it only postpones our experience of it. So the stories that we sometimes tell ourselves about things like being a victim, or how the world is against us, or this is just the story of my life and nothing good ever happens, those kinds of self-negating inner narratives, those are not going to be helpful right now. What they're going to do is instead block our growth through interaction with the world at a time like this. I spent a lot of time yesterday talking about this kind of baseline anxiety that we're carrying, many of us, and how difficult that felt, and just the immense energetic drain that goes on with that. This is a reminder that that is for our learning as well. Even if we're not participants in that drama, even if we're not the perpetrators or the victims or collateral damage, even if we're just apart from it and witnessing, it's still our job to feel that. It's still our job to use it as fuel for our own growth. It's kind of the sand in the oyster. And if you're on a spiritual path, you know that eventually that sand, that friction will produce something new, something good, something more evolved, something more aware and wise. So hang in there. I know it's hard, but let's see what the next 2 cards have to tell us. Second card today gives me the King of Swords. I was wondering if we were going to see a masculine figure today, and here we go. There is so much going on in this King of Swords reversed, I almost don't know where to start, but the divine masculine has abdicated his responsibility in this moment. I was having a conversation this morning about how we don't have rites of passage for adolescence in the Western world. We don't have a way to mark the transition from childhood to adulthood like they do in some traditional native cultures. And I think that does us a great disservice, because we have men who don't know what they're supposed to do when they grow up. We don't tell them, look, you have the resources and the knowledge now to make decisions for yourself, and here's what's going to be required. We need you to integrate all of your parts, including your divine feminine. We need you to take responsibility for the things that are under your stewardship. We need you to practice fairness and wisdom and guidance for the people around you. And instead, because we don't have like a spiritual marker for that, we just tell them, okay, you've graduated high school, great, go out, make money, be a cog in the mechanical wheel of the world. And that is why we don't have good leadership, I think, because we've lost the plot, we've lost the narrative. That's why this king is upside down. He ordinarily would have it all under his control. He would have mastery of this physical realm, of his narratives, of his mental processing, of his words. And we can see that the male figure's in charge right now, and I want to be careful to separate male sex from masculine energy, but they often go hand in hand, as you know. They don't have the wisdom. They don't know how to shape a narrative unless it's to deceive and to be used for their own agenda. And we're all suffering because this is so upside down. That's not a super traditional reading of this card, but I think given the context of the inverted 3 of Swords and the reading we had yesterday, this is pointing to the kind of trouble we're in and why. I think we need to demand more of our young men as they come into adulthood, rather than just telling them their only purpose is to, serve the corporate oligarchy. But now I'm editorializing. So let's go on to card number 3. And the final card today gives us the Empress reversed, same as yesterday's first card. So I don't want to repeat everything I said yesterday about this card, But I think in this context, she is telling us that the solution to the current impasse is going to be returning to the goal of harmonizing divine masculine and divine feminine in all of the ways that that can happen. I was musing this morning about how people who grew up in the 70s probably remember the phrase, the war of the sexes, and there was a big hullabaloo about women trying to gain equality and men really being in resistance to that. And you know, that persists to this day. We don't call it that anymore, but it still feels like a battlefield, and we've got teams on either side. And I think we need to recontextualize what it means to be human in terms of one gender and any variation thereof being the catalyst for the other gender's growth, and that we're here cooperatively to help each other evolve and grow. And it's not like a zero-sum game where we have to outcompete each other for resources and status and so on. And I think that's what it's devolved to, especially for people who are advocating for a return to traditional roles. That simplifies thinking, sure, it makes for tidy narratives, great. But what it doesn't do is emphasize what any individual human is here on earth to do, and that is to know the fullness of yourself. Know what you contain in your inner essence. That's what the entire spiritual journey is about. It's finding your parts, especially the ones that have been lost, the ones that have been suppressed, abandoned, your inner child, your divine feminine if you're a man, and the reverse if you're a woman, and gathering them all in, gathering all of your children, so to speak, into the fold so that you can be a whole being and express yourself as any kaleidoscopic combination of those parts as is appropriate in the moment. But instead, we have some people who are advocating, I don't want to blame anybody here, but when things get stressful, the brain wants to lock onto a simple solution, and that's not how it works, right? Those swords, they slice both ways. They can give you a greater insight into the nature of reality and humanity as a whole, or they can kind of cut out whole swaths of things that are really interesting because they don't fit into your tidy little limiting narrative that maybe feels kind of safe and secure, but it's actually a prison. The way out is to find our way for the Empress and the King to live and work together and amplify each other and enhance each other and not be at war. I think that's a good message in general, but it's particularly acute right now. So to sum it all up, this is a profound call to sovereignty. The Three of Swords reversed is telling us, feel the pain, don't overthink it. The King of Swords reversed is saying that external masculine leadership has failed us. That's why we're under so much stress right now. And seeing the Empress reversed again today tells us that the way out, the solution to our predicament, is for these energies to come together and harmonize rather than being at war with each other. The Empress is asking us to choose illumination over fleeing the discomfort that we may be feeling right now, because all of it is for our ultimate growth in the long term. It's not about competing genders. Every person contains multitudes. Let me know if this resonates with you in the comments. Like, follow, and share. See you tomorrow.